Welcome back to the UFC Predictions Tracker channel. In this video we will take a look at the results of over 30 UFC YouTube channels that made a prediction on this week's UFC Fight Night Perez vs Taira at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. On this card there were a total of 11 fights. Originally it was 13, but 2 fights got cancelled. We will be going over which channels had the least picks correct and which channels had the most picks correct. Then we will take a look at which channels would have made you the most money and which channels would have lost you the most money if you followed their picks and placed a $100 bet on their pick to win the fight. For this week and for my future videos I've added a new statistic, the return of investment percentage. I think this will make it more clear how good or bad these UFC predictors on YouTube really are. Alright, you ready for the results overview? Let's start with the worst pickers of this week. The third worst predictor this week was Lucas Tracy MMA. He had made 10 picks for this week and 5 of those were correct, for a correct pick percentage of 50%. The second worst predictors were Fight Fairy, MMA Experts, Mom's Basement MMA and the MMA Guru. They all only predicted 5 out of 11 fights correctly, for a 45% correct pick percentage. Fight Fairy is now for 2 weeks in a row in the top 3 of least correct picks. Last week she was in 3rd place with 6 out of 14 correct picks, with a correct pick percentage of 43%. So she improved in the correct pick percentage, but has gone lower in the rankings for least correct picks. Then, in 1st place or worst place for the least correct picks is not 1, but 4 channels. We have ClanBet, MMA Joey, MMA Play 365 and Tiger Bomb MMA. And guess what? ClanBet is again the worst picker of the week, just like he was at UFC 302. So yeah, I would stay far away from his predictions for now, until he shows us some improvements in the future, cause this ain't looking good at the moment. For these 4 channels I've made something. I've made a new special profile picture for their channel, so that everybody can see how good their predictions are. If you are from one of these 4 channels, do you see that clown? That's you. You see those angry and sad people behind the clown? Those are the people who watch your predictions video and followed your picks. So, that's my special gift for you. You should use it as your profile picture on YouTube until the next fight event, so that everyone can see how good you are at making picks for UFC fights. Okay, let's go to the most correct picks for this week. Again, in 3rd place, just like last week, is the Ice Files. This channel makes a prediction video for every UFC event, but he just skips fights which he's not interested in, which can make it maybe easier to have a higher correct pick percentage if you only choose to predict fights where you are highly confident in. So I'm not sure what to do with it, but for now I'll just leave it as it is. In 2nd place this week are 138 MMA, Broke Bets MMA, Chat GPT, MMA Lock of the Night, MMA Data Guy, MMA Prediction Guru, and Angelo from We Want Picks. A special shout out to Broke Bets MMA. He's doing really well the last 3 events. Last week he had the most correct picks with 10 out of 14 picks correct, for 71% correct pick percentage. And the week before he was in 2nd place with 10 out of 12 correct picks. So yeah, keep an eye out for this guy. He seems to make some good predictions overall. Then another channel worth mentioning is MMA Lock of the Night, because last week he had the least correct picks. And also again in the same place with ChatGPT. Maybe he just uses ChatGPT for his picks? Anyway, last week he only predicted 4 out of 14 fights correctly for a very low 29% correct picks percentage. So, very nice comeback from him this week. And in number 1 this week is... Seven channels: Artem MMA, Blood Money MMA Bets, Fight Realm, High Kick Fight Picks, Pick'em MMA, Rego, and UFC Gambling Addicts. They all had 8 out of 11 picks correct this week and a correct pick percentage of 73%. 2 channels are worth mentioning here: Rego and Pick'em MMA. Both these channels were second place last week for most correct picks, with 9 out of 14 picks correct that week. But Rico was also in second place the week before last week. So, in conclusion, the best predictions the last 3 weeks since I started this channel are made by Broke Bets MMA and Rego. Can they keep this up going forward? Who knows? But I'll be there and keep tracking their predictions. Here is the complete list of all the channels that I track with their correct picks, total picks and correct pick percentage. Feel free to pause the video if you want to have a closer look. Next, we will find out which channel won or lost the most money with their picks. A quick reminder: we pretend that for every fighter a channel picks, they've also placed a bet of $100 for that fighter to win the fight. I use the odds from the tail of the tape that is shown just before the fight starts. Okay, let's start with the most money lost this week. And here is also the new statistic of ROI, or return of investment, which should give a more accurate picture of how well, or bad in this case, a channel is doing with their predictions. 6th, 5th and 4th place are MMA Experts with $403 lost for a minus 37 return of investment. The MMA Guru loses $421 for a minus 38% return of investment. And ClanBet would have lost $478 for a minus 43% return of investment. Then, in 3rd place of most money lost is MMA Joey. He would have lost $524 if he placed a $100 bet on every pick he made for a minus 48% return of investment. In 2nd place with a minus 49% return of investment is Tiger Bomb MMA and a loss of $543. But the biggest loser, the biggest money burner this week is none other than MMA Play 365. He would have lost $554 on his $1,100 investment on 11 fights and would have made a return of investment of minus 50%. Alright, let's find out which channels made the most money this week. In 5th place we have 4 channels who all made the exact same predictions for every fight on this card. Fight Realm, High Kick Fight Picks, Pick'em MMA, Rego and UFC Gambling Addicts all won $116 for a 11% return of investment. Last week, High Kick Fight Picks lost more than $500, so he's making somewhat of a comeback this week, but a small comeback. Rego was 2nd place last week in most money won for a $346 profit, so 2 weeks in a row he's making some really nice profits. In 4th place is UFC Gambling Addict. He would have won $191 for a 70% return of investment. Then we go to the top 3. In third place is ChatGPT. Last week ChatGPT was also in third place, but for most money lost. It lost more than $700. So this week $231 profit and a return of investment of 21%. It is not enough to get back in the green, but it did a lot better than most of the UFC YouTube channels this week. And this week in second place is Artem MMA. He would have made $232 with a return of investment of 31% if he followed his predictions. And now, the biggest winner this week, the channel who would have won the most money if he placed a $100 bet on every pick that he made for this event is Blood Money MMA Bets. Maybe some of you watched my first results video of UFC 302, but in that video Blood Money MMA Bets lost the most money that week of all the channels. He would have lost $276 that week. So with him being the biggest winner this week with a $346 profit and a 33% return of investment, that puts him back in the green. So a very nice comeback for Blood Money MMA Bets. And here is another list with all of the channels that I track with an overview of their total money won or lost and their return of investment for this week's UFC Fight Night. Pause the video now if you would like to take a closer look at the data. That was it for this week's results. I try to follow as much UFC predictions channels as I can, but if I missed a channel or you can recommend a channel, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy these videos and want to see more of it, then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. See you all next week for UFC Fight Night with Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aleskarov.